V Rising went into early access release yesterday, and I seriously can't get enough of it. This survival adventure game combines the best elements of Valheim, Rust, and a snappy MOBA combat to create a challenging environment for both PvE and PvP enthusiasts. To get off the right foot in this unforgiving vampire world, I prepared some beginner pro tips for you, which will make your early adventures in Vardoran a lot easier, so let's get right to it. Before we get started, this is only the beginning of V Rising on the channel. There is a lot of content planned, so if you want to stay in the loop with all the future guides, don't hesitate to subscribe, it is entirely free. And of course, we also have a community server, so if you want to check that one out, the link is in the description to the Discord. But let's move on to the very first tip. So your adventure in Vardoran starts in the Farbane Woods, and you will quickly notice that the sun is not your friends, guys. Definitely be careful for this one, as it will turn you to crisp in no time. During the day, what you should do is hide in the shadows. Walk under the trees, make sure you don't take any of that damage, because before you know it, you will be dead. But this is the best moment pretty much to build on your base of operations. I definitely suggest you to search for a nice spot in pretty much the center of the Farbane Woods, as it will allow you to reach all the corners of the map a lot easier, hunt for bosses, gather resources, and of course also search for treasure, which you're gonna need big time in the early stages of the game. To make my farming as efficient as possible, get the best out of both the day and the nighttime, I decided to place my base of operations exactly above the Farbane Woods ladders, right in between the Forgotten Cemetery and the Bandit Copper Mine, as both of them will give you shadow during the daytime, so you will be able to farm for resources right here. Especially the Bandit Copper Mine is fantastic to get your hands on copper ores, copper ingots very quickly early game. If you're playing on a PvP server, you should be extremely cautious about the placement of your very first base of operations, because people will hunt for you. So what I think is a nice strategy, if you still want to be pretty central on the map, is to search for these larger patches of land with multiple entrances. Don't kill the animals, let all the creatures live, and of course let the trees grow. Don't harm the ruins right there, because if enemies walk through this, and if your base is, let's say, on a smaller patch of land on a higher level, it will be less likely that they will find it. Of course, this is something you want to avoid at all times, because this is right next to the road, out in the open, in between different points of interest, without doubt with multiple bosses around it, so you will be found pretty quickly. So now that you've chosen the location for your base of operations, it's time to move on to the next step, farm the resources. So once again, I want to say that both the Forgotten Cemetery and the Bandit Copper Mine are fantastic places to get your hands on resources both during the night and daytime, but of course you want to have the right tools for the job. Just like in other survival games, V Rising comes with different tools for different resources. So you want to use a mace to break rocks. It will make it so much easier in comparison with the other tools. Just like the axe is fantastic to chop down trees, and of course also the spear is great for animal hunting. I also suggest you to bring a sword if you're gonna go for bandit camp raiding frequently, as I think the spinning slash is fantastic to deal with weaker humanoids in no time. So now that you've gathered some resources and upgraded your base a little bit, it is time to move on to the next step, V-Blood hunting. You might have already done this a little bit while you were gathering resources, but basically this is the boss hunting, which allows you to unlock so many more crafting recipes, new spells which you can use to improve your build or change it entirely, and make your vampire character as lethal as possible on the battlefield. In Vardoran, there are over 30 bosses to track down, and every single one of them comes with their own unique rewards. I definitely recommend you to first track down the Alpha Wolf and go for the Bear, as they will give you some spirit forms which you can use for both combat and travel, and also things which you can use for your base, like the tanning rack, which gives you leather in return. Is going to be very interesting if you want to craft your very own armor. But this is basically what's gonna keep you and your comrades busy during the night, hunt for V-Blood, and of course unlock as many spells and recipes as possible. Here's a little secret tip, something we found out yesterday evening. If you unlocked the Bear Shapeshift, you will be able to use this one to destroy obstacles which you otherwise can't get through if you don't have any explosives. So at this bandit camp, I just used the stump of my bear, and you can get through the gates without a problem. Another very important factor of the game is getting buffed. Increase your stats dramatically by drinking blood of the enemies which you find on the battlefield. This is a very interesting mechanic which you don't notice that much early in the game, but basically if you're walking around in the wilds, you can hover over your enemies with your mouse and you can pretty much see the percentage of their blood quality. This is pretty much what you want to do if you want to prepare for a V-Blood hunt. Go out there, search for quality blood, get buffed with your character, increase those stats, so the battles are going to be a lot easier. There are so many different stat buffs which you can get, from lifesteal to resistance to the sun, but also movement speed, damage reduction, etc. So definitely make sure to keep an eye out for those high value blood targets, let's say. Drink their blood before you kill them, even though at first they might look like very weak targets without any use. If you manage to find targets with over 90% blood quality, you are seriously in for a treat. This will without doubt give you the upper hand for both PvE and PvP encounters. Talking about encounters, during both the day and nighttime, you have a chance to stumble upon Skully Targets. This really depends on the region where you're fighting, but most of the time this means that you're under-leveled. The skeleton right next to the HP bar of an enemy means that they are 10 or more levels above you, so this is gonna be a true challenge. If it's PvE, you can always try it, be my guest. If we're talking about PvP, I definitely recommend you to just back off, because most of the times this means that they are pretty strong and will most likely kill you if you get too close. Once you're geared up a little bit, you will start noticing that some of these Skully targets will finally get a level, and then it will be easier to determine if you are up for the task. In these situations, you're just better off running away, and if you already did a little bit of V-Blood hunting, you can do that with, for example, your Spirit Wolf when you're traveling, but there is a way better means of transportation, which is basically the horse. For this, what you're gonna do is travel to the north of the Farbane Woods. Right here you will find a farm which is filled with mounts. Basically, these horses can be mounted and you will also see them on the minimap, so you will always know exactly where they are. But definitely be careful, because other people might run away with them. And what's also interesting is that you have to keep giving them water, because otherwise the horses will die. What I simply did at the farm is take one horse for my own and then butcher all the others. I know it sounds a little bit cruel, but we're vampires, right? So I think you can forgive me. But we just kill all the horses and basically you get water in return, which you can use to keep your horse very happy. Alright, so there you have it, my day 1 tips for V Rising. How to survive your first days in Farbane Woods, let's say. Get started with the game. If you enjoyed watching this video, if it was helpful, please do hit that like button, it helps me out big time. And of course, if you want to see a part 2 for this guide, let me know in the comments down below, I am super curious. But of course, if you want to have a quick answer to your questions, we have different channels dedicated to V Rising, and of course also our community server. So yeah, if you're still looking for buddies to take on your adventure or vampires to raid with, definitely make sure to check out the Discord. It's time I climb out of my coffin again and start prowling the night. So big thanks for watching, I'll see you guys very soon, have an awesome day, till next time, peace.